Hello and welcome to The Fundamentals, a series of videos produced to help new users get an idea for how SimDemocracy works. I am your host, formerly u/Emperor D-Man, and I would like to thank you all for watching. First on the docket today, law, specifically the fundamentals of law within SimDemocracy. As a community based originally on Reddit and now mainly on a Discord server, SimDemocracy is governed democratically rather than arbitrarily. Instead of having moderators or admins appointed by an owner, we have an elected Senate to write and pass laws, a president to enforce them, and a judiciary to ensure everyone is following them correctly. SimDemocracy has a complex, some might even say convoluted, legal system, of which I'll give you a brief summary. SimDemocracy's laws include both criminal and civil, with a partial list of crimes including, but not limited to, abuse of alternate accounts, harassment, hate speech, doxing, abuse of power, treason, blackmail, and terrorism. These are organized in the Criminal Code, a living document which adapts with the times. As of time of writing in October 2025, the Criminal Code, or CC for short, has 52 articles and numerous sub-articles covering almost anything you can think of. Doxing, for example, is a sub-article under violation of privacy, which is a more general crime. Of course, each crime carries a different penalty. These can range from mutes of a length of about a day up to a permanent ban. In the past, permanent bans were disliked, and as a result, one of the first serious criminals was served a ban of 10 years, with the belief that such a ban was equivalent to a permanent ban. He is due for release in 2029. Now, the first question is, who makes the law? That would be the Senate. SimDemocracy's most important branch of government, the Senate holds primary responsibility for the function of SimDemocracy by passing new laws. Laws can cover almost any topic within the bounds of the Constitution, which is the highest law of the land. Ranging from creating or destroying government institutions, funding the budget, awarding medals for service, or even just jokes, bills placed before the Senate to become law are myriad. Usually these laws do serve to benefit SimDemocracy, but must gain approval from a majority or sometimes a supermajority of senators. In the rare case a law gains support from a majority of senators but is actually quite bad, the first line of defense is the president and their veto. The president, who is also elected democratically, has the power to veto laws that are passed by the Senate. This is subject to an override clause, where a vetoed bill may be overridden into law if it gets support from at least 2/3 of the senators. This system is very similar to the American government, with the exception that the Senate is a unicameral legislature and usually has representatives from more than 3 political parties. Additionally, laws may not violate the Constitution. As the highest law in the land, the Constitution overrides all other laws whenever they conflict. Amendments to the Constitution require a supermajority of senators, they may not be vetoed by the president, and they go to a referendum where the population must also approve the changes. It's comparatively hard to change the Constitution because of how important it is, so oftentimes it's easier to work within the Constitution's bounds. It is also worth noting that according to the Constitution, the terms of service are always assumed to go above SimDemocracy's laws. After all, if we break TOS and get shut down, what good do SimDem's laws do for anyone? Back to the point, who decides whether a law is constitutional or not? That particular question is up to the courts, specifically the Supreme Court. Questions of whether laws have been broken are usually placed up to the inferior courts. For example, criminal cases where someone is accused of committing a crime will go before a judge. Questions directly relating to whether a new law is constitutional or not, however, go directly to the Supreme Court, which can also overturn decisions made by inferior courts when necessary. Unlike the Senate and President, the courts are appointed. The President names a candidate to become a judge or justice, and the Senate must then vote to approve them. This way, it's hoped that the courts can avoid political shenanigans. Beyond politics, day-to-day law enforcement is up to the SimDemocracy Bureau of Investigation, or the SDBI. Serving as a part of the Department of Justice, the SDBI enforces law by investigating reports, requesting warrants, conducting arrests, and filing charges with the DOJ. Individuals under arrest are limited to imprisonment to prevent them from doing any more harm until their trial, and they receive a defense attorney from the state if they need one. If their trial results in a guilty verdict, they may file an appeal up to the Supreme Court in hopes of a different result. The system sounds pretty complex, and that's actually because it is. The system is over 6 years old and has survived a mess of historical changes. It's complex, but it's much fairer than an arbitrary administration system based on the owner's friends. And that's all for today, folks. Thank you again for watching the Department of Growth's The Fundamentals series. This was The Fundamentals of Law.